Texas versus Johnson is a super important U.S. Supreme Court decision on the First Amendment free speech and symbolic speech. It's from 1989. The majority opinion was written by Justice William Brennan. A dissent was written by Chief Justice William Rehnquist, and it was a 5-4 decision, so it was narrow. It's about burning the American flag, disliking America. So what happened in that case was you had a guy named Gregory Johnson in 1984. He went to the Republican National Convention along with some demonstrators. He did not like the Republican Party, and he did not like the incumbent President Ronald Reagan, who was being renominated for the presidency at that convention. And he and his demonstrators, they burnt the American flag. They desecrated it. They chanted stuff like, quote, "America, the red, white, and blue, we spit on you." Johnson was convicted. This ends up going all the way up to the U.S. Supreme Court. So Reagan's got some of his nominees like Scalia on the court, so it's a more conservative court at this point, but still free speech wins. What happens was the government focuses on basically the issue of what the flag represents. They want to preserve its national image, its image of America as being great, and it's got a cherished place in our history, so it's really egregious and offensive to burn it. They point out that, it could provoke a fight if you burn the American flag. That's a big deal. We want to prevent stuff like that from happening. Breaches of the peace are a dangerous thing. We don't want someone to end up dead because of this speech. And the U.S. Supreme Court majority is just not having it. So Justice Brennan writes that while Texas claims it has an interest in stopping the breach of the peace, the only actual evidence of that was people being offended. And yes, they were seriously offended by it. But just being offended alone, that's not going to lead to a breach of the peace. Think about all the things that offend you, and you don't start a fight over those things, do you? You might lash out verbally, but you're not going to end up quarreling with someone. Nobody's going to end up injured or dead. So Texas argues further that they have the interest in preserving the flag as a symbol of nationhood and national unity. But this concern only arises when you say, oh, we want to protect its symbol that way, and therefore people can't trash the symbol. But trashing the symbol itself is free speech. And the First Amendment says that Congress shall make no law abridging the right of freedom of speech. This was a Texas state law, so it wasn't the U.S. Congress, but the principle still applies. The government cannot punish American citizens for their speech. So what they're doing is saying, you cannot engage in speech which is disrespectful to the flag because we want to uphold the flag's image of our strong nationhood, our national identity, and America the beautiful, morning in America, America great. And that's just not compatible with the First Amendment. So the Supreme Court is not having these arguments from the state of Texas. They write, quote, "We never before have held that the government may ensure that a symbol be used to express only one view of that symbol or its reference." Brennan points out no separate category for the American flag will exist. And he says that this holding actually strengthens the importance of the flag. It strengthens its cherished place in our community rather than weakens it. It's like, hey, you want to trash the American flag? That's your prerogative. Burn it if you want, assuming it's your property. You can't burn other people's American flags. But the flag still protects you. The flag protects our government from coming after you, from locking you up for burning the flag. That's generally what he was getting at. It's kind of a controversial message, but it's understandable too. There's logic behind it. Some people would argue, hey, if we really want to support America, we should punish people who trash America so badly as to burn the flag. That kind of seemed like what the dissent was getting at, but more so what the dissent, written first by Chief Justice Rehnquist, joined by Justice White and O'Connor, wrote, said that Congress and the states have passed laws on the misuse of the American flag. And he says that Justice Brennan, for the majority, is doing a patronizing lecture on integrity and basically on civics in the majority opinion. And we don't need that, he says. He felt like, oh, they're just wrongly lecturing Congress, and Congress just gave their judgment in this law. They don't want people disrespecting the flag. They don't want people desecrating it. And that was their judgment. So it's a really angry dissent, I could tell, with the use of the term lecture, accusing the majority of lecturing. Then we have another dissent just written by Justice Stevens. And Stevens is actually a liberal guy, interestingly. Liberal Justice Stevens dissents. And actually conservative Justice Antonin Scalia is part of the majority, saying, yeah, no, flag burning is protected speech. So Justice Stevens says, this is a unique case, and he says that rules on symbolic speech, they're not necessarily controlling, even if we can consider this symbolic speech. So he's not necessarily granting that burning the flag is symbolic speech, which, the majority takes the stance that it is. It's not just, oh, we don't want you burning the flag. What's going on here is that the government is saying, we have an issue with what you're expressing by burning the American flag. It's disrespecting our nationhood. It's disrespecting this cherished place that the American flag has in this country. And one thing that's interesting was that Texas actually conceded that Gregory Johnson's conduct was expressive. Had they not said it was expressive, they might have been able to advance some sort of different argument. But they're like, yeah, this is expression. The First Amendment covers it. The flag was burned to show opposition to the GOP and its renomination of Ronald Reagan for president. The state of Texas concedes that. So, yeah, very bad spot for the government to be in. You got to have a better justification than they had. They didn't advance a good one, so they lost. Let me know what you think in the comments about this case. I love First Amendment law. I love law in general. Talking about the Constitution is one of my hobby horses. If you're a law student, if you're a high school student, if you're an undergrad, someone studying law, wanting to know more, I hope this video is helpful for you. If you're in a class on the First Amendment, I hope you can take this to the bank with an A++ on your final exam. Thank you so much for watching, and I look forward to speaking to you in my next video.